I don't know when I'm going to get tired of that. Hello, everybody. It's the pollinator. Um, as you can see, I am sporting baldness. I think I mentioned quite a few times that my hair was thinning and it was starting to bother me. I actually told myself before I started my transition that because I researched for 3 years before I embraced who and what I really am. And one of the things they talked about was, going bald. And so I told myself that before I started, that if that started to happen, that I would actually shave it all off. And for a long time, it didn't. It wasn't until about 6 months ago, 6 months ago, that it started thinning right here to the point, and then it was just slowly receding back. So I don't want to look like Bozo, and and I see it everywhere. I understand wanting to hold on to it for dear life as long as parts of it kept growing. But so I went ahead and took the plunge. Everybody kept saying I could probably pull it off without, my head looking ridiculous, or that, yeah, just a lot of people just kept telling me, let it go, let it go. And I kept ignoring them until I really don't. I tend to, a lot of times I act on impulse. And this was one of those things where I just said, you know what? I'm going to go for it. And I did. So that was Tuesday, and already it's trying to grow back. So I'm going to have to brave shaving it. Try not to nick myself or end up with hair bumps or whatever on my head. So I started watching a couple of, well, one of my daughters told me to watch some YouTube videos, so I did. Doesn't look terribly tough. So if I want to maintain it, you can almost see the shadow that's growing back. Anyway, that's not what I did not. That's not why I started this vlog. I started this vlog to talk about something that is just absolutely awesome to me, and that is that TMBLM Incorporated became incorporated on June 7th of this year. It got backdated. I just got the certificate a few days ago, and yesterday I was talking about something completely different, but it's not all that different from the things that I was talking about, because TMBLM stands for Trans Male Black Lives Matter. It is not a BLM organization, even though that is in its name. I've said that before, but it is going to make Black lives matter from my standpoint. And it's, basically going to try to break down the walls of ignorance in the United States and abroad. But it will be it's based out of the United States, in the state that I live in. And then I'm going to start, as I build the organization, I will be reaching out to other organizations to collaborate with them, including the immigration. I just forgot the name. There's an immigration office in New York City, and I'll be reaching out to them to try to help my trans brothers and sisters and cis brothers and sisters in Africa and wherever they live, if they end up members of TMBLM Incorporated, to be somewhat of a catalyst to help them exit their countries. No, the organization is not going to pay for them to do that. But by the nature of this organization in empowering and uplifting our people, I'll be in a better position to do just that, uplift them to a point where they have enough courage, enough chutzpah, enough ambition to figure out how to get out of there. But I know everything there is to know about the different kinds of visas ones can get from another country, and basically be able to help them in that manner. And TMBLM is about everybody who is a Moor in the diaspora across the world. And it is, yes, it's only, the members will be binary, but that yesterday I said something about non-binaries not being included in the organization, but that does not mean that if anybody who is black needed anything, that we would not reach out to them and try to help them with whatever. Where I'm going to put the front end of the business is what is exclusive to non-black people and non-binary people. So, but that could change in the future if they want to grow up and collaborate with us instead of knocking us down. See, this is the thing that happens in many groups that have a combination of non-binary people in it, is that they think that every binary man on the planet is a misogynist, is a toxic male. I mean, that's just in the front. They're almost like man-hating lesbians. Exactly the same mentality. So that is the thing that we are going to avoid, because it's a waste of time. We all need to get along. We all need to love each other if we are going to tackle this war that has been waged against us worldwide. All of that stuff has to be put to rest. All of that automatic thinking that we're the bad guys, they're the good guys because they don't got no gender or whatever. All of that stuff has to go away in order for me to even consider opening that door. Yeah. And, the old group that I dismantled had some non-binary people in there because they were cool with, accidentally being called the wrong gender or whatnot, because I made it very clear that, when I refer to people, when I did refer to people in that group, I referred to them as kings and queens. And there is no word. King, queens, and others, it just did not fit in the same sentence. And to attempt to change language in a way that can accommodate non-binary people, they need to work on that. Because it's not enough to be a they, them, their, those. It's not enough in languages around the world. If you have a brother or a sister, and that brother or sister has a child, what is going to replace aunt or uncle? I think about these things, these little simple things that can be really, really big things. Because as a child is goes from a baby to a point where they can understand that, where they can understand that there is this gender X. Until that time, they're going to get misgendered, whether they like it or not, because all languages are binary based. So they really need to get that together before they have knee-jerk reactions to people using binary words. When that happens, all sorts of doors will stop opening. But when they attack, doors will close. That's why I closed my doors, because of the attacks that were going on. TMBLM is focused on the narratives around black people, around Moors, around, I want to say that, I'm not going to try to say that word because I am not looking at it right now, but it begins with a K. Kemet? I don't know. Anyway, it's centered around melanated people. It's not centered around your gender or your lack of it. That is the focus of TMBLM, and that's just the way it's going to be. But I have another thing I want to talk about. And yeah, I have a lot to do, a lot of logistics going on right now around my organization. And so I'm taking it step by step, you know, from getting a website to just a lot of other things to get a website up and running. I already have a domain name for the organization. So yeah, I got a lot to do. I got a lot of work to do, and I'm happy to do it. I am, despite a lot of ways I may come across to people, I have a lot of compassion. I have a very high threshold for compassion. I have a very low threshold for bullshit, which I can smell a mile away. In fact, lately, you know, if I even sense it, if I even see it come out, I'm gone. Or whoever I'm talking to is gone. I'm not even wasting my time with people who like to argue for a living. People who like to be righteous about things that they're wrong about. People who like to play the victim in situations. And because this organization is about empowerment, and you can't be empowered and be coming from that place. You almost need therapy to get out of that state of mind, and would be like an anchor, not only to an organization, but to a family member, to a partner, to a spouse, to a friend. When you're coming from those places of disempowerment, it's like an anchor on whoever you're around. So, you know, when TMBLM is strong enough and big enough, we'll be able to accommodate people like that. But in the beginning, it's not going to be that way. So we need some troopers on board, and that are not coming from a place of pettiness. And so as I build that organization, it's going to become clear and clear what it's all about. I am going to put out a mission statement on the website, and I'll be talking to some of the members. Well, I have to elect some board members, three of us. And we'll go over these kinds of things and put out a mission statement for what TMBLM stands for. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because I've been thinking a lot about her, and she keeps coming up in conversations that I have with people. Other people don't know I'm the one that's bringing her up, and that is my sister, Annette, who we lost last year. So I wanted to have a little fun, and this one's for you, baby girl. I know you're resting in peace, and you're up there partying with all our family members, including our mother, our aunties, our uncles, our cousins that have passed on and are looking over me, looking out for me. And so this one is for you. She wants to be part of my book, and I am going to include her in there. She wanted to, and at first I said, no, this isn't about you. You know, it's not about your life, it's about mine. But certain aspects of her life I am going to include. So, but I'm the oldest of three. I have a brother that's about half my age, from another mother, and from Wendy. And my sister was only a year and a half younger than me. So I had the older sibling syndrome. I was always doing something to that girl. So let me tell you some of the crap that I did. You're probably going to think, oh, what a rotten asshole. But hey, you know what? If you have siblings, then you ain't got no room to judge me. And if you were the oldest, you know you pull some shit on your younger siblings. So I don't want to hear it from people. And the younger siblings know what the older siblings did to them too. So, everybody's got a little bit of that going on, especially if you're from the United States. Our culture is just, I don't know, it's just like that. I don't know what it's like in other countries. In fact, I might ask somebody, what are you and your siblings' relationship like? And what were you like as children? So the first memory I have of Annette Suzanne Gibson, is her full name, is that she was sitting on the floor in the living room, and we were living, it wasn't Pinckney Street, but it was somewhere near there, the house that I went to after I was born, and my sister as well. But she was sitting on the ground, and I couldn't have been any more than 2 or 3 years old. But, I don't think I liked having her around. I think she took up all the attention I was getting when she was born. So one day she was sitting there, and I just went and kicked her over. She took 18 months to walk. She took a long time to walk. And I don't know if that irritated me as a baby. I was just a toddler. I went up and kicked her over, and she just laid there. She didn't even move. She just laid there and played with her feet or something. And my mother came in and said, what is Annette doing on the floor like that? Because she must have looked like she was in a very awkward position. And I said, I don't know. Of course, I didn't tell her I kicked her over to see if she would get up. And she didn't. So, that's the first memory that I have of Annette. The kinds of things I did to her. Oh, and then a few years later, when she was walking and stuff like that, and we had moved, okay? We had moved to Maple Street. No, we hadn't. Okay, so we were still in the first house that we had as babies. But I had this blanket named George. I named this blanket George. I don't know why I named it George. That's just what came to mind. Some children like stuffed animals. Some children suck their thumbs. Some children, children do what they do. Well, I had a blanket named George. And I took that blanket everywhere, like it was my best friend or something. I even took that blanket to South America. My father got to play. The team would play winter ball. I don't know if baseball is like that anymore, but back in the days when my father was playing ball, they had to keep in shape during the winter. So the team would fly them wherever. And the first few years, they sent them to Caracas, Venezuela. So I took George on the plane. I took George in the pool. I took George everywhere, okay? I mean, yeah, that was my buddy. Because I still didn't like my sister, Annette. And so, one day Annette decided she wanted George. And we were in the bedroom. I think we had twin beds. Yes, we had twin beds. I think I always got the top and put her ass on the bottom. But anyway, we were under the bed fighting over George, and she was on one side of the bed, I was on the other, and we were pulling George, and he ripped. I was so mad. I think I went over and bopped her on the head or did something because she was crying and went to Mom. But she tore George. Little knucklehead always wanted, and you know what? She maintained that she just wanted everything I had until we were teenagers. She wanted my clothes, and this lady, my sister, was a giant. By the time she was in high school, she was almost 6 foot, and I'm still, well, I never grew very tall. I don't know where that comes from. I think my mother and my father told me it comes from the brown side of the family, the fact that I never grew very tall. But my sister would want my clothes, you know, and she would wear my clothes, and she would always do something crazy to my clothes. They'd come back with holes in the underarms, or something would be ripped because she couldn't fit my clothes, but she wanted them. She wanted everything I had. Let's see, what else? Oh, I used to pay her. I don't like insects. I'm literally afraid of bugs. I don't like them at all. Well, I'm not afraid of bugs. I don't like bugs, but I am afraid of bees and wasps and things that can jump on you. So, and we had we had a big yard, and we went from the what is that area right in front of the garage? Anyway, if we went to that area and went up the stairs and walked to the front door, grasshoppers would jump out of the grass and want to land on you, and I just couldn't stand that. So I used to pay her to piggyback on her back to take me from the bottom steps to the front door. Maybe actually I got up the steps and then I jumped on her back, and she would carry me into the front door. And then one day I decided, and I do to this little gullible knucklehead. So I got some coins, and she had quarters, and I think I had pennies, dimes, and nickels. So I told her, I convinced her that if I gave her 2 nickels, that it was more money than a quarter. And she said, really? I said, yeah, really. It's more money. See, it's more coins, right? And she said, you're right. So she would exchange me quarters for nickels and pennies and dimes. I was so rotten. I just, kind of shit that we did to our younger siblings. But the one thing I never did, I was never a snitch. She was the snitch. She ratted me out every chance she got, so I never took her anywhere with me. But I never snitched on her. In fact, I would tell her how to try to get away with the crap that she was going to do anyway. I would tell her, don't, if you do this, you're not going to get caught. She would not listen, and she would do it her way, and she would get busted, and I would just end up going in my room and putting on my headphones, because she was always getting her butt beat. She got her butt whooped for this shenanigans she pulled, even though I told her how to not get caught, but anyway. Let's see, there's a little more silly stuff about Annette. Oh, she was colorblind. So she would try to walk out of the house with these weird-ass colors. And girls usually aren't colorblind, but my sister was. She got that from our father. And she would come out of the house with green and purple and yellow. And she would come out of the house with the most atrocious colors. So I'd march her ass back in the house. Go back in the house and change your clothes. In fact, no, let me follow you so I can match these colors with you. And you know what was remarkable about her is that when she got older, when she grew up and became an adult, she was able to match colors. I don't know how she did it colorblind, but she did. Also, one time, well, okay, yeah. We did get in we got in some fights, you know. And the last time we fought, we were teenagers, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what we were fighting about, or arguing. It started with an argument. And then we started fighting, and we were butt naked in the bedroom in St. Louis, in a house, I think. The team would get us either in hotels or houses. So we started fighting, and she was so big, freaking tree trunk, that I didn't fight fair. I was too small to fight fair. So I would pick up, I picked up everything, start throwing at her, suitcases, lamps, whatever was loose. I'd pick it up and hit her with it, and we was just going at it. And one of my cousins, Victor, I don't know if he even remembers this, but Victor came busting in the room because he heard all the noise. And he saw that we were naked, and he turned around and ran back out. And then he changed his mind and said, I got to break up this fight, and came back in and broke us up. My mother came in and said, you know what, you two, cease and desist. In fact, you're going to sit on the couch and apologize to each other. And so we got dressed, went downstairs, sat on the couch, and we refused to say anything to each other. So she said, okay, well, you're going to sit there until your father gets home. For some reason, that didn't scare us that time. So we just sat there, probably like this. I'm talking to her. We was not going to make up, right? So our father gets home from a game, and I don't know what he said. I don't know if it was him or it was something my mother said, but we finally said truce. Gave each other a hug, and that was the last fight we ever had. I think I was something like 14 or 15, and she was 13. Yeah, 12 or 13. And that was the last time. But it was also the last time I ever pulled anything on her. some of the stuff that happened. And my sister was such a kid. She was just a big kid all of her life. She loved hanging with people who were younger than her. Even as a child, she hung out with children instead of kids her age. And she had a sweet tooth that was ridiculous. She would spend all her money buying, we got an allowance, and she would spend all her money buying candy for the entire neighborhood. I mean, whoever showed up. They knew when Annette was getting an allowance, everybody in the hood, everybody in the neighborhood show up, and she would get them ice cream or candy or whatever. She was just generous like that. I was not like that. You have to see in my book what I was like. I didn't want to share nothing. Even though my mom called me, selfish for not wanting to, but the kids usually broke my stuff when they playing with my things, so I didn't like sharing with them. And I didn't believe in buying friendships. Although I still am a very generous person. I will do something for somebody in a heartbeat. I'll give the shirt off my back. Won't give anybody my last dollar, but I will come close. I just think that's in our gene pool. My father gave everything to us. And maybe maybe that just rubbed off, but But anyway, I just wanted to share a little bit about my sister Annette because I miss her a lot. Even though, I mean, and I was her rock. I was her confidant. I was the one she told everything to, no matter how outrageous and crazy it was. I was the one she told everything that was going on in her head and in her life. And to not be able to pick up the phone, and she also had this huge sense of humor. She missed her calling as a comedian because she could turn a tragedy into something truly hilarious and have me laughing so hard that I would be crying. She was just like that. I had a cousin that was like that too, so I think that's a Gibson thing. But yeah, she was a character. She was just really freaking funny. But I have lost the two favorite ladies in my life, my mom and her. And you know, a lot of times one triggers thoughts of the other, back and forth like that, and just makes me miss them a lot. But Annette, and I called her baby girl. You know, I love you, I miss you, and for all of my family members, Ray is out to make a difference in the world. I am the change that I want to see in the world, and that is not my saying. That actually came from another organization, but they say, be the change you want to see in the world. And I say, I am the change that I want to see in the world. Because I'm going to make things happen. You know, I'm going to give it my best shot. And usually my best shot is a great shot. So, you know, because I've always had I've had overdose of ambition all of my life. You know, as far back as I can remember. And I just look forward to doing a great service to this nation, even to veterans. I am a veteran, but to Moors around the world. We need more than any other kind of people on this planet. We are being dogged out more than any other kind of person on the planet. And we've been so for longer than any other type of people on the planet. See, when somebody wants to jump up and start telling me about their issues, like I said on the my vlog yesterday, I understand that, and that's why they need to make a move to uplift their people. But I cannot uplift multiple different kinds of people. It would be a huge learning curve for me, and we need more help than all of them combined. We have been dogged out longer and harder than any of them combined. The Native Americans have a little bit different of an issue, and you know, they're being, as a race of people in this country, you know, their numbers are a lot less than they were before, you know, Europeans came over here and slaughtered the shit out of them and then stuck them on reservations. But that's still not my fight. Other POCs are not my fight. They're not my problem. Humanity is my problem. And of course, if I get my way with the direction of this organization, we can collaborate perhaps with other POC nations. But that's not where my focus is going to be. That will have to be something that falls out of moving and changing goals that will be made throughout the history and the life of this organization. And it may never do that. I'm not promising that at all. What I am making a solemn oath to is to uplift Moors, all the Moor diasporas around the globe, but starting here in the United States. See, we have the potential of, we've got a double-edged sword going on because of the progression of the United States. We have more of a chance of uniting the world than Moors in other countries even care to do. You know, we're the head of technology. We're the head of a lot of things that go on worldwide. So if anybody's going to reach out to other Moors on the planet, it's probably going to be American blacks. The other countries, they don't, except for Africa and South America and Jamaica and countries like that, they don't have a mixture of different kinds. They're not melting pots in those other countries. Not like it is here. And they've never experienced the kind of oppression and discrimination and bullshit that we're experiencing in this planet, in this country. They have experienced a lot of it, but in spurts. And like in Africa, because of the colonization of Africa, when they went over there and, you know, stole that place and its resources, its natural resources. That's the only business that all these other countries have with Africa, is to try to get their resources. But the colonization that happened turned a lot of Africans into just a duplication of what goes on here with the white people. The way that they run things, the corruption that goes on, the crime that goes on. There are a lot of beautiful places on that continent, but the way that it is run, which started with a lot of nonsense. Well, no, it didn't start there, but it got invaded, flat out. It got invaded. We got hijacked, brought here to be slaves, and they just ripped up that continent too. And so, yeah, a lot of the countries in Africa are even more regressive than they are here in the United States. That's why we got to be the leaders. That's why we've got to pull it together and get everybody to stop fighting, to get, I don't want to say get people to, but in some intelligent way, persuade people to stop falling for the okie doke, which means you're not really researching what you're seeing and what you're repeating and what you're doing. You just accept it as fact when it can be, it's just totally fucked up. Like every time somebody here, a black man, especially black men, get murdered, the first thing that everybody does, no matter what nationality they are, no matter what race they are in this country, is look up dirt on that person. I have seen more black women they're the first to seem to find this information out about these black men, and is what they talk about instead of the fact that he was murdered. See, that is the kind of mentality that has to change. We have to learn to love one another again. And that's going to come from self-love. And those people that are doing that are full of self-hate. And they don't even know it. So we have to somehow educate in a influential way to get people to look at the self-hatred that they have inside and to get rid of it. That is not going to be a small task for 13 million fucking people in this country. And who knows how 13 million, 13% of people in the United States are Moors. And to get them all to, you know, turn another direction and stop with the self-hatred stuff. Get them to even recognize it, because guess what? You cannot change and you cannot fix what you do not see about yourself. Denial is not people's friend. They think it is, but it's not. You deny that stuff and it'll just run your life and run you away from the kind of unity that is needed in this country. You'd be the first to attack each other. And then the media, see, the media is feeding that animal, and then you're buying into it. The media is not reporting the fucking truth. Half of the stuff that goes on here isn't being reported by mass media, which is what people see first, is what they're looking at. They're not digging for the truth. They just accept what they're getting from the media and say, okie doke, got it. Let's go attack the person that just got murdered. Oh, did you know? It's gossip. Did you know they was married to a white woman or a whatever woman? Did you know he has problems with women? Did you know? That's more important to them than the fact that he was murdered. I'm sorry, that's dysfunctional. If that's what you see first, then you don't got a compassionate bone in your fucking body. If the first thing that you do and you'll accept from the media outlets is the dirt on the person that got murdered, something is going on with you. That is not, oh my God. Some of these people who do that, they don't even say anything about the families that are getting left behind by these victims. They don't care. They just go hog wild shit mad about the way these young people have lived their life. And who hasn't made mistakes? Who's perfect here? Nobody. So, you know, I think we are groomed in school to do this to one another. From kindergarten until we graduate high school. And probably in college and universities. That we are taught to accept wherever somebody's fucking telling us without researching it and finding out if it's true or not. Or if it's appropriate. We're not taught appropriations in school. We're not taught how to be functional human beings to one another. Functional. Healthy. Not physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy. You know, we're not taught that in school. That's why there's so many dysfunctional families worldwide. That kind of stuff is not taught in school. You have to be drawn to that after you become an adult and then get your act together. Not how you look. Not how much physical strength you have. That's all physical characteristics. But there's a whole bunch of sick, weak-minded, emotional people out running around in this world. So, as an international mentor, as a father of many, I also help in that area. Because I've been through all of that. I was a self-help junkie for years. I still am. I'm getting ready to do the forum again in August. And you never stop growing. If you stop growing emotionally and mentally, you're dead. Emotionally and mentally. So it's time for folks to wake up. Stop being dead asses, deadbeats. They want to talk about deadbeat dads. How about deadbeat human beings? That all they live for is their job. All they live for is their dysfunctional relationships that aren't even functional or healthy. That all they're living for is themselves. They're not trying to, they're not trying to do anything for anybody because they're messed up people and they don't even know it because denial is their friend, they think. Anyway, oh my goodness. I did not mean to talk this long, but I did. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Yeah, just have a good one. And the pollinator is out.